You know that feeling, right? That tightness in your chest, maybe, or your mind just racing. That feeling of being, well, stressed out.
That's pretty universal, yeah.
Absolutely. But what if stress is doing way more than just affecting your mood? What if it's like silently reshaping your body, your brain, even your long-term health in ways you might not even notice?
Uh-huh. Hidden impacts.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive. We're going into your sources to really unpack these profound, often overlooked impacts of stress.
Sounds good.
Our mission, for you listening, is to really get a handle on this complex dance between your mind and body when you're under pressure, whether it's good stress or bad.
Right, because there is a difference.
There is. And you'll walk away with hopefully a much clearer picture of your body's stress response, the hidden costs, and importantly, some real insights on how to navigate it all better.
Get ready for some aha moments, maybe.
I think so, because this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, let's start right at the beginning, the basics. We throw around the word stressed all the time.
Mm.
But what is stress, really, from a biological standpoint? And what's happening inside us in those first few moments?
Well, it's fascinating, actually. Stress isn't just, a bad feeling. It's a totally natural human reaction. It's how we respond to any change or challenge.
Change your challenge. Okay.
Yeah. And Hans Selye, who was a real pioneer in stress theory, he helped us break it down. He talked about eustress.
Eustress.
Yeah, eustress, that's the good kind. The positive stress, like the excitement you feel when you start a new job, or maybe the focus you get before a big game, it can actually be helpful.
Okay, I get that. Energizing almost.
Exactly. And then there's distress. That's the one we usually mean when we say stressed. It's the kind that makes you feel overwhelmed, anxious, maybe even exhausted.
Right, the negative stuff.
Uh-huh. But the key thing is, our bodies are actually designed, hardwired even, to experience and react to both kinds.
Okay, so let's unpack that reaction. When we feel that sudden surge, the shaky hands before you give a presentation, or maybe that fluttery feeling in your stomach, what's physically going on? It feels like an alarm bell inside.
That's a perfect way to put it. It is an alarm. That's the alarm reaction stage. Most people know it as the fight or flight response.
Fight or flight. Heard that one.
Right. It's your body's first super fast reaction to anything it sees as a threat. Your sympathetic nervous system just kicks into high gear.
Sympathetic nervous system. Okay.
And it starts pumping out hormones, specifically epinephrine, that's adrenaline, and norepinephrine.
Adrenaline, kind of.
This hormone surge causes all those physical things you notice.
Yeah.
Your pupils get wider, heart rate speeds up, blood pressure climbs, you start breathing faster, maybe you tremble a bit.
Definitely felt the trembling.
Yeah. And your senses get sharper, blood flow actually shifts, moving towards your big muscles. It's all designed for one purpose: prepare you to either fight the threat or run away from it. Fast.
So, okay, the alarm goes off, body reacts, we deal with whatever it is, and then ideally things calm down again. The system resets.
Ideally, yes.
But what happens when that alarm just keeps ringing? Day in, day out, maybe weeks turn into months, when the stress doesn't really stop.
That's where things get more complicated and potentially damaging. If we connect this to the bigger picture, when that initial emergency system stays on, your body shifts gears. It activates a slower, more sustained response system.
Okay, a different system.
Yeah, it's called the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or just HPA axis for short.
HPA axis.
Right.
Think of it like a chain reaction. First, the hypothalamus in your brain, kind of like the command center, releases a hormone, CRH.
CRH.
That tells the pituitary gland the next link in the chain to release another hormone, ACTH.
ACTH, okay, following this.
And ACTH travels down to your adrenal glands, which sit right on top of your kidneys.
Mm-hmm.
And that signal tells the adrenals to release cortisol.
Cortisol, I've definitely heard of that one, the stress hormone, right?
Right.
That's the one. It's the main player in the long-term stress response. Its job is basically to keep your body kind of revved up, on high alert, making sure you have enough energy to deal with whatever ongoing stressor you're facing.
So essentially, our body is stuck in this constant state of readiness, always on edge. That just sounds exhausting, completely unsustainable.
It is exhausting.
Is this where that idea of wear and tear comes in? Like the system just gets worn out?
Absolutely. Precisely. This ongoing process of adapting to these demands, this constant adjustment, is called allostasis.
Allostasis.
But when your body's systems are working overtime constantly because there's just too much stress, or maybe they don't shut down properly after the stress is gone, that's when you get what's called allostatic load, or even allostatic overload.
Load or overload. Okay.
Think of it as the cumulative cost. It's the actual physical wear and tear on your body and your brain. And it's not just about the external things stressing you out like your job or finances.
Oh, what else?
It also includes how you respond to that stress, your behaviors. Things like not sleeping well, eating poorly, maybe drinking more alcohol, not getting enough exercise. All those things add to the load.
I see. So it's the stress plus how we cope or don't cope.
Exactly. It's like running your car engine in the red zone constantly. Eventually, parts start to wear out, break down. That's allostatic load.
That car analogy makes so much sense. And for a lot of people listening, it probably feels like they have to keep the engine in the red.
Yep.
Like there's no choice.
Yeah, modern life can feel that way.
So if our bodies are constantly fighting this internal battle, building up this wear and tear, what does it actually do to us? Let's get into the nitty-gritty. What are some of the surprising ways this chronic stress, this allostatic load, shows up, physically and mentally?
It's really quite striking how widespread the effects are. They pop up all over the place. Physically, for instance, your digestive system can take a major hit.
The gut feeling. Makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Chronic stress doesn't necessarily cause things like peptic ulcers on its own, but it can seriously worsen them. There were studies, for example, on air traffic controllers.
Why high-stress job?
Extremely. And those at high-stress airports, they had significantly higher rates of ulcers. Stress also makes conditions like ulcerative colitis worse, contributes to functional GI disorders, think IBS, and even GERD, acid reflux or heartburn.
Bird, too. Huh?
Yeah, it can actually change the acid levels in your stomach. It really messes with that whole system.
Okay, digestion makes intuitive sense, that gut knot feeling. But what about other, maybe less obvious physical signs? I've heard stress can literally appear on your skin. Is that true?
It is, yeah. Stress can manifest as rashes or hives. These are surprisingly common, actually, especially, it seems, in women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Hives. Okay. What else?
Well, beyond the skin, the cardiovascular system is really vulnerable. That constant activation of the fight-or-flight system and the HPA axis, it promotes something called oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress.
Yeah.
Like rust in the body.
That's a good analogy, yeah. And inflammation throughout your body. This constant internal friction can lead to high blood pressure over time. It speeds up atherosclerosis.
That's the plaque buildup in arteries.
Exactly. Which, down the line, dramatically increases your risk for heart disease, stroke, even heart attacks. Your heart is basically working harder under more strain all the time.
Okay, so digestion's off, skin's reacting, heart's under pressure. It really sounds like our immune system must be taking a beating too.
It absolutely is. Now, it's a bit nuanced. Acute, short-term stress can actually give your immune system a temporary boost, get you ready to fight infection from, say, an injury.
Take a quick boost.
But chronic stress, that generally has the opposite effect. It's immunosuppressive. It weakens your body's ability to fight off infections. Maybe you catch colds more easily. It can slow down wound healing.
Wow.
And it can even make autoimmune diseases worse by constantly triggering these things called pro-inflammatory cytokines. They're like little messenger molecules that keep inflammation simmering.
So it's fanning the flames of inflammation.
Pretty much. And there's even research linking chronic stress to suppression of your natural killer cells, NK cells.
Natural killer cells, what do they do?
They're vital. They're part of your immune surveillance team, crucial for fighting off certain viruses, and even destroying cancer cells before they can spread. So suppressing them is not good.
Definitely not.
And then, of course, the more common things people notice: trouble sleeping, feeling tired all the time, changes in appetite, eating more or less, changes in sex drive. Those are all very common physical signs, too.
It's just, it's hitting us everywhere physically. So what about our minds, our mental state? How does this relentless pressure affect our thoughts, feelings, our ability to just think straight?
Yeah, this raises an important question because the impact on the brain is really profound. We know chronic stress is strongly linked to things like anxiety disorders and depression.
How does that connection work?
Well, partly it's because that excess cortisol we talked about, it can actually be toxic to certain brain areas over time, especially the hippocampus, which is critical for learning and memory.
Toxic. Wow.
Yeah, it can damage neurons. And in really severe cases, some byproducts of stress hormones can almost act like sedatives in the brain, leading to that feeling of persistent low-energy brain fog.
That sluggish feeling.
Exactly. And for people who already have conditions like bipolar disorder, stress can be a major trigger, potentially setting off manic or depressive episodes or making them worse.
And just our day-to-day thinking, our ability to focus, learn things, remember where we put our keys, How does stress affect that cognitive function?
It definitely takes a toll. Again, it depends on how intense the stress is and how long it lasts. But high levels of cortisol, especially over time, are linked with problems in memory recall, difficulties with attention and focus.
Trouble concentrating.
Right. And what called executive dysfunction. That makes it harder to plan, organize, solve problems, make good decisions.
So basically all the things you need to manage stress.
Ironically, yes.
Yeah.
And in conditions like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, people can experience something called hyperarousal. They're constantly on edge, super vigilant.
Always scanning for danger.
Exactly. With symptoms like sudden anger, being really impulsive, jumpy and exaggerated startle reflex. And what's really sobering is that the brain physically changes under chronic stress.
Changes how?
Well, imaging studies show the hippocampus can actually shrink. The connections, the dendrites, can retract. And the prefrontal cortex, your brain's CEO, responsible for judgment and control, can also show shrinkage and reduced branching. This can lead to cognitive rigidity, making it harder to adapt, harder to learn.
So it's literally reshaping our brain structure.
In some cases, yes, it's quite profound.
Okay, it's undeniable that stress is powerful, a major force, but it feels like it hits everyone differently. Some people seem to buckle under pressure, others seem almost thrive on it, or at least cope better. What makes some of us more vulnerable and others more resilient?
You're absolutely right. There are huge individual differences, and genetics definitely play a part.
Our genes, how so?
Well, we all inherit slightly different versions, or alleles, of certain genes. Some genes influence how our brain handles serotonin, for example, which affects mood. Others, like one called APOE4, are linked to risks for things like Alzheimer's and also seem to affect how we handle stress. So, your genetic makeup can predispose you, making you naturally a bit more sensitive or more robust in the face of stress. It's not destiny, but it's a factor.
Okay, genetics is part of the puzzle. And you mentioned earlier experiences. I know things that happen early in life can cast a really long shadow.
They really can. Building on that, there's this concept of toxic stress. This usually refers to severe, prolonged stress experienced in childhood, often from things we call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. Think abuse, neglect, serious household dysfunction.
ACEs, I've heard of those.
Yeah. Experiencing that kind of trauma or toxic stress early on can have really deep, lasting effects, not just psychologically, but biologically. It can actually alter brain development, the architecture of the brain.
Oh, yeah.
And it can also cause epigenetic changes.
Epigenetic.
Yeah.
That means changes to how genes work, not the genes themselves.
Exactly. It's like turning dimmer switches on certain genes up or down. And these early toxic stress experiences can basically program your stress response system to be hyper-reactive for life, significantly increasing your risk for all sorts of problems later on: mental health issues, cognitive problems, chronic inflammation.
So our genes, our childhood, it's like they set the stage. What about things like age or even our sex? Do those factor into how we respond?
They absolutely do. Age is a big one. As we get older, our brains generally don't bounce back from stress quite as well as they used to.
Slower recovery.
Yeah. Older adults might show higher cortisol levels after a stressful event, and it takes longer for those levels to return to normal. This can make them more vulnerable to the negative effects over time. Younger people, on the other hand, might be a bit more protected from certain memory impairments caused by cortisol.
Interesting. And what about differences between men and women?
Well, research here is ongoing and complex, but some studies suggest females might show, on average, a stronger physiological stress response, maybe higher cortisol release in certain situations. There also seems to be a higher vulnerability statistically to stress-related conditions like depression and PTSD in women.
Okay.
But how stress impacts cognitive performance, like memory or focus. The results are more mixed, varying depending on the study and the type of stressor. It's led to this idea that men and women might often use different coping strategies, partly due to subtle brain differences and, of course, the influence of hormones like estrogen and testosterone.
Okay, it's a lot to take in. It really underscores how serious chronic stress is. But the flip side is, sounds like we're not helpless. There are things we can actively do.
Definitely.
So bringing it all together, what does this mean for us in our daily lives? What are the practical, actionable strategies we can use to manage this stress response and maybe build up some resilience?
That's the crucial part, isn't it? Finding ways to cope. Now, the ideal scenario is always to find and address the root cause of the stress, if possible. But we know you can't just eliminate all stress.
Right. It's part of life.
It is. So the focus becomes managing your response to it. And this raises the key question: what actually works and how?
Okay, let's hear them.
All right. First up, relaxation techniques. Things like deep breathing exercises, meditation, mindfulness, yoga, tai chi, progressive muscle relaxation. These aren't just nice to have.
They actually do something physiological.
Absolutely. They actively help trigger your body's relaxation response. That's the parasympathetic nervous system kicking in. It directly counteracts the fight or flight response. It lowers heart rate, blood pressure, cortisol. Even just a few minutes of slow, deep belly breathing can make a noticeable difference.
Okay, relaxation. What's next?
Physical activity. Regular exercise is huge. It's not just about physical fitness. Moving your body, even just a brisk walk, helps deepen your breathing, releases muscle tension.
Burns off that nervous energy.
Exactly. It helps your brain process stress hormones and improves overall mental health. Movement therapies like yoga are great too because they combine the physical movement with mental focus, which is really calming for many people.
Makes sense. Exercise is key.
Number 3.
Prioritize sleep. We often sacrifice sleep when we're stressed, but that's the worst thing to do. Good sleep hygiene is critical.
Why is sleep so important for stress?
Because during sleep, your brain actually works to consolidate memories, process emotions, and clear out metabolic waste products that build up during the day, including some related to stress. Consistent sleep schedules, a cool, dark, quiet room, limiting screens before bed, avoiding big meals, caffeine, alcohol close to bedtime, all these things dramatically improve your body's ability to recover and handle stress the next day. Think of it as hitting the reset button.
Sleep hygiene. Got it. What else? Nourish your body. What you eat matters. A healthy diet, rich in whole foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains for fiber, helps support your nervous system. Make sure you're getting enough B vitamins, vitamin C, magnesium, protein. These are all building blocks your body needs to cope effectively.
Fueling the system properly.
Right. Next, cultivate social connections. Don't underestimate the power of your network friends, family, community groups.
How does that help with stress biologically?
Strong social support acts as a buffer. Connecting with others can release oxytocin, sometimes called the cuddle hormone, which has calming effects on the nervous system. Studies consistently show that people with strong social ties have lower allostatic load scores and tend to live longer.
Right.
Meaningful connection is protective.
Connection is key. Okay, one more.
Mindset and boundaries. This is more psychological, but powerful. Practicing gratitude can actually shift your brain's focus away from stressors. Learning to accept things you can't control is huge. And crucially, learning to say no sometimes. Setting boundaries around your time and energy.
Setting boundaries. Hard, but important.
Very. Even limiting your exposure to stressful news if you find it constantly ramps up your anxiety, that's a valid boundary too. These mindset shifts and boundaries actively reduce the demands on your system.
That's a really solid toolkit. Relaxation, exercise, sleep, nutrition, connection, mindset, boundaries. But sometimes, even when you're trying all those things, the stress just feels like too much. It's overwhelming. When should someone think about getting professional help?
That's a really important question. It's time to talk to a healthcare provider if your stress feels constantly overwhelming, like you just can't cope. Or if it's significantly impacting your physical health, maybe causing frequent panic attacks, chronic pain, severe digestive issues.
Okay.
Also, if the stress persists for weeks or months despite your best efforts using those self-care strategies we just talked about, or, and this is critical, if you find yourself turning to substances like alcohol or drugs more often to try and manage the feelings, that's a major red flag.
So talk to a doctor or what?
Yeah, start with your primary care doctor. They can assess the situation, maybe rule out other underlying medical issues, offer advice, potentially prescribe medication if it's appropriate, or refer you to a mental health professional, a psychologist, a therapist, a psychiatrist for more specialized support like therapy or counseling. And always remember, if you're feeling an immediate distress or crisis, resources like the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline are available 24/7. You don't have to go through it alone.
That's vital information. Thank you. Now, so much of this focuses, understandably, on what we as individuals can do, but it feels like there's a bigger picture here, too. It's not all just on our shoulders, right? Society plays a role.
Oh, absolutely. That's a crucial point. If we really connect this to the bigger picture, societal structures and policies from government, from the private sector, they play an enormous role in shaping the amount and type of stress people experience on a population level.
How so? Give me an example.
Well, think about policies related to things like fair wages, affordable housing, access to quality education, safe working conditions, paid sick leave, affordable childcare. All of these directly impact major sources of chronic stress for huge numbers of people.
Right. Financial stress, job insecurity.
Exactly. Having access to affordable health care, for instance, can alleviate an immense burden of stress related to medical bills or fear of getting sick. Policies that promote healthy food access in all neighborhoods create safe public spaces for recreation. These all contribute to reducing the overall stress load on communities.
And businesses. What role do they play?
Businesses have a big impact too. Companies that actively encourage healthy practices, maybe offering wellness programs, ensuring reasonable workloads, promoting work-life balance, offering flexible schedules, they not only help their employees manage stress, but they often see benefits themselves. Lower healthcare costs, less absenteeism, higher productivity, more loyal workforce. It's really a win-win. Creating less stressful environments is a collective responsibility.
Wow. What an incredible and somewhat intense journey into the hidden world of stress today. We've really covered a lot of ground.
We certainly have.
From that immediate fight or flight jolt to the long-term wear and tear of allostatic load. We looked at how it hits your digestion, your heart, your immune system, even how it can reshape your brain and affect how you think.
And how things like our genes, our early life, our age, our sex, how they all play a role in our unique response.
Yeah. For me, what really stands out from this deep dive is just how fundamentally connected our mental and physical health are, and how deeply intertwined they are with our environment, our experiences, our society.
It's all connected.
It really is. And thinking about stress not just as, a bad mood, but as this complex physiological process, one with real tangible effects, some reversible, maybe some not, it feels empowering somehow. It makes taking action, seeking support, making those small changes feel even more important.
Knowledge is power, in a way. Understanding what's happening can motivate change.
Absolutely. Knowing that your body is constantly listening, constantly adapting to every stressor, big or small, that changes the game. So, for everyone listening, what's one small intentional step you can take this week? Just one thing to actively help manage your body's remarkable yet really delicate stress response system.